Hey guys, welcome back. Father's Day is going to be here soon, so today I'm sharing 3 different Father's Day cake topper ideas and tutorials on how you can make each of these. So I'm going to be doing each of the cake toppers separate, so if you just want to watch the tutorial for one of them, then you can jump to that section by clicking on that chapter of the video. But before we get started with any of them, you do need to make sure that you grab the free SVG cake topper files from my blog at svgnation.com, and you are going to find a link to those in the video description that's going to take you directly there. And you're also going to find links to the products and supplies that I'm using in this video in that video description if you want to check any of those out. So we're going to get started with this Happy Father's Day cake topper, and this is a super quick and easy cake topper to put together, so if you need something very last minute, then this is going to be your best choice. So you're going to start by uploading that SVG file to Cricut Design Space, and you're going to add that Father's Day cake topper to your canvas. And so once that's added to your canvas, it is going to look like this, and this is actually all ready to cut. So all you need to do is click on Make It, and you can go ahead and cut these pieces out. But if you want to resize it, you can do that as well. When you resize this, just make sure that you do have your proportions locked. So go ahead and make sure that is in the lock position up there. And you can just click on it to turn it to lock and unlock. And then you can just drag the corner here to resize, or you can type in the width right here. So I'm actually doing 8 inches in width for these. But you do need to make sure that you don't go any larger than 11.5 inches if you're using 12 by 12 cardstock. And if you want to make these smaller, in case you want to make maybe some cupcake toppers with these, then you can do that as well and maybe make them 3 inches wide instead. And so go ahead and cut out all your pieces, and then we'll go ahead and assemble this. Once you have your pieces cut out, all you need to do is glue that top layer to your bottom layer. But when you are removing those pieces from your mat, just make sure that you find those stars that are in between the A and the R and Father. You don't want to lose those because you do need to glue those to your design. So when you have everything glued down, your cake topper is going to look like this. And then all that is left is to glue that stick to the back. And when you're gluing that stick on, add your glue at least 1 inch up on the back, because that's going to make your cake topper nice and sturdy. And I prefer using hot glue with the stick because it holds better and it dries faster, so your cake topper is going to be ready in no time. So definitely perfect for that last minute cake topper. So there actually is another way that you can assemble cake toppers or even paper crafts in general. You can actually use heat transfer vinyl with cardstock. So I'm going to show you how to do this because it's a really neat trick to learn if you don't already know how to do this. And you're going to be able to use this with any of these designs. Anytime that you're gluing the cardstock on top of cardstock, you can actually use iron-on vinyl instead for that top layer that you're gluing down. So if you are using iron-on vinyl, when you're cutting those designs out, make sure that you mirror this design before cutting it. And you're also going to need to change your cut settings to the type of vinyl you're using. And so I am using the Everyday Iron-on Vinyl, and so I'm going to change my settings to this while I cut this. And then you're going to place that material with the shiny side down on your mat while you cut it. So once your iron-on vinyl is cut out, you're going to weed the excess material that you don't need. And before weeding it, make sure to cut around your design. That way you can save all that extra pieces of that iron-on vinyl that you aren't using for another project. So when you're done weeding all of those pieces out, you should just have that design left on your carrier sheet, and it should look like this. So you're just going to place that design on top of the bottom piece, and that clear side should be on top, and your design should be facing the correct direction. If it's not, then you probably forgot to mirror your design first, so you are going to have to go back and redo all of that. And for this part, you are going to need a mini heat press for this, and you want to use that lowest heat setting. And so all you're going to need to do is press down for only about 5 seconds. And so after 5 seconds, then move your little heat press to the next area and press for another 5 seconds. And you're going to continue to move your heat press over until you've pressed all of the design down. It really doesn't take much heat for iron-on vinyl to stick to cardstock. And if you use too much heat, it will cause your paper to kind of curl and it won't look as good. So make sure that you do this on the lowest heat setting and don't leave it there for very long. Using iron-on vinyl with cardstock can be a big time saver when you have a lot of letters to glue down, but it's also a great hack if you have the color that you want to use in iron-on vinyl but not in cardstock. So that way you don't need to go to the store. You can just use the iron-on vinyl instead. So when I'm doing cardstock projects, I do a mix of sometimes using the iron-on and sometimes using the cardstock. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew this was even an option and show you how to do that. But when you're done with heating all of the parts, that clear plastic should peel right off and your design should stay in place. If you notice that your design starts to peel up with that carrier sheet, then just press it back down and hold heat on it for just a couple more seconds and then try lifting it again. And once you have all of that done, all you need to do is glue your stick to the back. So both the cardstock and iron-on version come out really great. So it's just two different ways that you can make paper crafts. So go ahead and add that Super Dad cake topper to your canvas area. And once you do that, it is going to look like this. And you can easily resize this if needed. To resize this, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your proportions are locked. So click this right here to lock those. And you can also click it to unlock it, but you do want to make sure that this is locked. And then you can easily drag this for the sides for whatever size you want, or you can type a dimension right here. I'm actually doing 8 inches. But this is also going to work great for cupcake toppers, so you can make those smaller, like 3 inches if you want to do those. But I'm going to bring this back up to 8 inches in width because that's what I'm using. And so if you look at these layers, I'm going to just ungroup these real quick so I can show you what they are. There's nothing that you need to do to modify this except if you want to resize it. But this layer right here, this is actually going to be your clear plastic layer. So just make sure when you're cutting that you do use those clear plastic settings. And if you don't want to make a shaker cake topper, you can easily leave this part out and just glue these on top of each other. So you would just delete this layer. So once you have everything resized as you want it, go ahead and cut these out so that we can assemble it. And so to assemble this Super Dad shaker cake topper, you're going to grab your foam tape and go ahead and measure it with that border piece. You want to make sure that the foam tape is skinnier than this border piece so that it's hidden well. And if it's not, you can trim it down or get a thinner foam tape. So the one that I'm using is 1/4 of an inch, and I do have a link for that in the video description if you need to check that out. And so you're just going to line that entire outside of your diamond shape with the foam tape. And make sure that when you're piecing this together that there are no gaps in this, because you don't want the glitter to be able to escape. So everything should be lined up perfectly with each other as you're outlining this diamond. And then you're just going to fill the middle part with glitter and sequins, and you can use as much or as little as you want. So I like to use a lot. I love glitter and sequins, but if you want to see more of that red color underneath, then make sure that you use less than I'm using, because I do cover a lot of that up. So once you've got all your glitter and sequins in there, go ahead and remove that backing from your adhesive foam tape, and then you're going to line up that clear diamond piece so that you can place it on top and then press around really well to make sure it sticks really well. So now if you guys like this cake topper, but you don't want it to be a shaker style, you just want a regular cake topper, then you can just skip all of these steps that we just did, and you're going to start with gluing the blue outline to the red paper instead of gluing it to the clear plastic like I am here. And you won't need to cut that clear plastic either, so you can just delete that layer in Cricut Design Space. And then you can continue to follow with me. Go ahead and glue your letters to that offset layer. And you can also use foam dots if you want these to stick out more. And I'll actually be using the adhesive foam dots to attach the rest of the item so it has more of a 3D look later. But for this part, I'm just gluing the letters down. But you can do any combination with these that you want. But if you do want the same 3D look that I have, then go ahead and use those adhesive foam dots, or you can also use adhesive foam tape and just cut it into little strips. And then you're just going to attach the words to your bubble using those. And then I'm adding more adhesive dots to attach that bubble to my cake topper. And so it has a fun, nice 3D look, plus it's got all that glitter inside, so it's a really fun cake topper. And then when you're done, you're just going to flip it over and glue your stick down. And when you're gluing that down, make sure to add it at least 1 inch in height. That way your cake topper is nice and sturdy. And if you don't want to see this stick glued to the back, then you can just cut another piece of that red background piece and then glue it to the back over the stick to hide it. So that's just optional if that's something that you want to do. And guys, this is such a fun cake topper for Dad, and you can easily turn this design into cupcake toppers. All you need to do is resize it smaller, and then you're just going to glue a toothpick to the back instead of one of these bigger sticks. So go ahead and add that Cheers Dad cake topper to your canvas once you've uploaded it. And everything is actually ready to cut, so the only thing that you need to do is resize this if you want it a different size. So when you're resizing this, it's really important to make sure that your proportions are locked. So make sure to click that so that you can lock those before you resize it. And all you need to do is drag here to resize it, or you can even type it in here to resize it. Just make sure that your largest layer does not exceed 11.5 inches. So for this, it's going to be the height if you're using 12 by 12 cardstock, because it's not going to cut then. So if everything is the way you like it, then you can go ahead and cut this, and then I'll show you how to assemble it. Once you have everything cut out, it is important to assemble this one in a certain way because some of the items overlap. So first you want to glue those 4 rectangle strips to your mug, and you want to make sure that the handle of the mug is facing to the right when you're doing this. And then you'll glue the mug to the base of the cake topper. And again, you want the handle of the mug facing to the right. And you're going to notice that you have 2 of the white foam pieces. If you're not layering these with the adhesive foam dots, then you really don't need the smaller piece. The smaller piece is just used to add more dimension to this cake topper. I'm going to attach both of them, and I'm attaching both of them using the adhesive foam dots because I really like the way this design looks with all of that dimension. But before adding the foam dots or the glue to these, make sure you line them up in the correct spot. That way you know which side to add your glue or adhesive dots to. And it is going to line up perfectly with that mug behind it, so you'll know which way it goes. And you're just going to attach both of these pieces to your cake topper, either gluing them down or using your foam dots. And I also want to add a 3D effect for the words, but again, you can attach these however you want. But if you're going for the same look than I am, then you're going to glue those top words down to the middle offset layer. And then use your adhesive foam dots to attach the middle offset layer to the bottom offset layer. And I'm just applying these randomly, so it doesn't matter how you add these. You're just going to kind of randomly place them around. And you can also use foam tape for this. Just cut it into small strips if you don't have these foam dots. And now I'm also going to use those foam dots to attach this whole piece to your cake topper. And I'm doing the exact same steps for Cheers that I did for Dad. So I'm just gluing the words to that middle layer, and then I'm using foam dots to attach the middle layer to the back layer. And then I'm also using foam dots to attach this whole piece to the cake topper. And then all you need to do is add your bubbles, and you can either glue these down or use your adhesive foam dots if you want them to float off the cake topper like I'm doing here. So once you glue your stick down, this Father's Day cake topper is going to be ready to go. And this design also makes a fun card as well. So if you want to turn this into a card, all you need to do is cut that dark brown piece out again. But you want to cut it on a lighter colored paper. And then you're just going to glue that paper to the back of the design. And the back is where you're going to write your message for Dad. But I do also have Father's Day card templates, so if you still need to make Dad a Father's Day card, then I'll go ahead and leave the link where you can find all 5 of these card templates in the video description for you guys. And if you guys have any questions on how to make or assemble these cake toppers, then make sure to leave those in the comments and I will answer them there. And thank you guys so much for watching.